is really a cliche, but until then, we think of an idea and then go ask people what they think about that idea. We did the opposite. We asked people what their pain was, specifically managers in data. What pains are they working with right now? I mean, what do they want to get solved? And then from there, we took inspiration and went on to build Aggua.
Welcome to our series entitled the IAM Podcast, a podcast about innovation, business, and most importantly, people. In this series, we'll be talking to founders, executives, and various experts about their vision, challenges, best practices, and lessons learned throughout their journey. Let's get started. Hello and what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the IAM Podcast. This is still Mariah, your host, and today we are going to be joined by one of our valued partners, a happy customer, the CTO and co-founder at Aggua, so Avi Greenwald.
Yeah. Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Avi.
Great to be here.
We are so happy to meet you and everything that will happen today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are listening to us. Okay, so first, would love to know you guys a bit more.
Okay, sure. Mavi, I'm 31, recently got married. We have a dog and working for an apartment in Tel Aviv. So if anyone is listening and has an apartment, please send it to us. I come from a technical background. Passion started with my brother building computers back when we were very young, mostly hardware. At some point, I moved to software, went and did a bachelor's degree in computer science at Machon Lev in Jerusalem. So that was during high school. And I have good friends from there. And then I went to the army to the 8200 unit. So very generic at that point. Did a course named Mamas. And then found out that I really love computer programming. It's one of my biggest passions, and did there around 6 years of management, programming, data engineering, cybersecurity. Really went through a different roles. Finished that, went to a company named Bring. Bring is a logistics and delivery platform. Very successful. So they're a programmer and a manager for 2.5 years, and then COVID hit, and that's where our story begins, pretty much.
COVID hits. Okay, so first, this is your first venture, but you love computer programming. Okay, how did you meet your co-founders? How did it all start? The idea, everything.
So, my co-founder, one of the co-founders, was a friend from the army. Okay, so we met there. Very good friends, worked together for a large amount of time, and we wanted to do something in the health vertical. Ariel, who is CEO and the co-founder, he joined the company a bit later, and we met through someone who knew both of us and thought it was a good match, and that's how that's how that connection happened. What we wanted to originally do was really bring data to the health industry, to hospitals, but it then didn't really happen. It was very hard for us. So during COVID was everybody remembers. I mean, how hospitals were working then. So
COVID sparked the idea, like
yeah.
health and data. So those were the two like concept or the two big ideas. And who approached who?
Well, Amit approached me. I mean, I was thinking of doing something, but at the time, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do. I mean, anything, and it just was very. Amit was very concise. We have to do something. We have to build something. We have to do.
So you said like, okay, like what? Am I ready for this? What? I'm just curious. Like as a first time entrepreneur, what were the hesitations or the reservations?
I think there were a few. It was it's something that I always wanted to do. So definitely part of the Israeli dream. right? Go build a startup. It'll be fun. It'll be easy. No, it's gonna be fun. It's not gonna be
Easy.
easy. And then, I mean, do you have enough experience? I think that's something that every first timer asks himself and continually asks himself if, I mean, if they're doing the right thing, if they know what they're doing, right? You have that doubt that creeps up. So that was really like a concern.
Why did you say yes? I mean, did anyone like, okay, this is the confidence we have. We're right. We are right. Yes, this idea is gonna
I
blow.
mean, I think the first idea was horrible, and we loved it. We did a customer experience, kind of an app for hospitals. I think a lot of people think of that idea and want to make hospitals better. It's very difficult, and it wasn't a good idea. So we left it at some point, but we had all of we were sure it was going to work, and then when we realized it wasn't, so we just moved to a different idea and a different idea until we got to where we are today.
Yeah. So you mentioned in the Pascal, like you did a lot of pivots. So how challenging is that? And is that like okay, it has to be mutual, or is it you, the CTO, who decides, or the CEO?
It has to be mutual. I mean, you can't. It's not something that you can decide on yourself. What I think entrepreneurs should do, I don't know. I mean, just from our advice that we got is work on something, decide how long you're going to work on it, and if it doesn't succeed, you don't get your goals at the early beginning, right when you're doing the ideation stage. Then leave it and move on. So for us, it was like every 3 months, every 2 3 months, we were um, if we didn't get any progress, we'd move to a different idea. We did that for like a year or so, and then I mean, at some point it hit us that we should do something that we know better, which is data,
Hmm.
and that's how we got to our first, I guess, more successful idea, which was a self-service data platform for hospitals, where people who don't know how to write SQL or Python can access different reports that today they're not able to. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so talk to us about that. When you finally knew, okay, this is it. Like, okay, we can. After three, wow, startups really move fast, right? Like, every 3 months, you have to check on your goals. If it's not okay, pivot. You have to find another way. Okay, how did it? Like, okay, it's Agua.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the early stage. I mean, the very early where you just have to work on an idea. I mean, we did pivot it. I mean, we did do like a final pivot just before the funding, which was to leave the entire health industry, which was a very hard decision for us because we came from that. I mean, that was what we initially wanted to do. It was a hard decision, but it was really, I mean, it had to be done because the reality that back then was COVID. Hospitals are over the head, and we weren't able to get enough attention. People were willing to listen to us and say, "Yes, we want to use what you're doing." But then when we scheduled a date, it just wouldn't happen. So yeah. So that was I mean, that's when we realized we want to do something. I mean, in data specifically, and then we just did something else where we instead of until then. I mean, this is really a cliche, but until then, we'd think of an idea and then go ask people what they think about that idea. We did the opposite. We asked people what their pain was, specifically managers in data. What what pains are they working with right now? I mean, what do they want to get solved? And then from there we took inspiration and went on to build Aggua.
Okay, wow, the data management platform, data made easy by Agua.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to us about it.
What was the pain that we tried to address was really this knowledge management gap that companies have. And this knowledge management gap is not specific to data. I mean, anywhere in an organization, you're going to have people who don't know how to achieve the different goals and where 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 the knowledge is and what I mean what what was the previous approach, what is the next approach, just have it's like this Wikipedia. So it's not something that's specific to data, but in data it's amplified because data is knowledge. And what happens is that data groups are really working very hard, but they're always losing the context of what they've been working on before. Because I mean, data analysts can work in a typical day on five different subjects, different dashboards, and data
Mm-hmm.
engineers. Every data engineer works on different pipelines, and they switch context, and usually nothing is documented, and it's very hard to remember what you did. I mean, even as a person, what you did last year, I mean, or
Mm-hmm.
half a year ago, and it's very dependent and important to your job to understand that knowledge. And this was something that came up a lot with the heads of data that we've been speaking to in Israel and in the States. And at some point, we're like, okay, this seems like something that we can tackle. I mean, we have the expertise. We love the pain because I mean being both in data and in software, which is very similar. Um, it's just something that that I've had to deal with a lot. Where you go into, let's say, a new code base, and you have no idea. I mean, where to start, where to begin. No, but not even not a guide, but even you don't even know. I mean, who did this? Why did they do it? A lot of alarms and bells come up when you're working on it. So that's something that we wanted to solve. And what we do is in Aggua, so we have a few different tools. All of them are in the management space, and they help data engineers and data analysts and scientists and business users to understand their data. Um, so think of I mean, so we have a data catalog, which is a very smart wiki, Wikipedia, that helps data engineers and whatever data providers um, to document their data as much as automatically as they can. And data consumers can easily get that data, get that metadata, get that information. So it can be a description of a report, right? It can be a description of a column on a table. It can be the usage metrics of a of some of a part of a report, and so on and so on. So it's very diverse.
Talk to us about one user story so we can better understand. So, if example, a data analyst uses Agua, how does it work?
I can get let me give it two use cases
Yeah.
that we began with when Agua when we first found right our first customers, our first design partners, right.
Mm.
So one pain that then Avo, which exists today in a different format than it did then, they had a lot of new recruitees, a lot of new employees, right? I mean, they were bringing in every month two, three, four new data engineers, data analysts to the team, and they were growing very fast, and they needed a way to keep that knowledge. And we came in, gave them Agua, gave them a solution. We worked together, hands on, days and nights to get it done, to understand that we're building the right product, and we helped them document their entire data assets, all of the data assets, or all of the important data assets. So first, recognize what is important and what is not, because it's going to be impossible to document everything. So we have these smart engines that understand, okay, this is being used a lot, this is being used less, this impacts different downstream reports and is therefore important. And once we did that, we we have them automate the documentation process, so they don't have to document everything again and again and again, because in data you have a lot of repetitions. So you document it in one place, and then it goes and it's populated in all the other places that make sense. Today we're using ChatGPT, right? But back then it didn't exist, so we're helping teams document faster their tables, their reports, and they were able to by using Agua, they were able to reduce. I think it was back like instead of like a month or 2 months of onboarding, they were able to get it done in a week. And that was something that was very impressive and also very important for that specific team. It's a very specific use case, but that's what they had back then. And then we had a different company,
Mhm.
Artlist, also an Israeli company, and um, they had a mess in their data platform. I wouldn't say a mess. I'd say they had growing pains. They were growing, right, and
Yeah.
at the time they were migrating between tools. Um, they were moving to use Airflow a lot more than they did before, and we came there with our data lineage solution. So what data lineage is like right in when you have like a lineage tree of a family. So you see right who your parents are, your grandparents are, who your children are, right, sisters, brothers, and data. You have the same thing because every table, right, has parents, has grandparents, has daughters, sons. I mean, not really daughters and sons, but has what they call downstream assets. And this is a tree, right, of how data influences each other. And between between each two tables, you have pipelines, and the data comes from a source, right? The source is usually um, either a production database, an operation database, or maybe Salesforce or Stripe or HubSpot. And the downstream, your descendants of a table, is going to be a dashboard in, let's say, a tool like Power BI or Tableau or Looker. And this data lineage is very important for data engineers specifically. I mean, not only, but specifically for them, because this is how they can understand a lot of different things about their data without having to reverse engineer their code, right? Their SQL, their Python. I mean, this might be very technical, but just go. I mean, just just explain it. I mean, it saves a lot of time. Um, Days and days of research can be done using Aggrega's data lineage. So they can reduce to 20 minutes, a half an hour. So that's like,
Wow.
so, yeah, I mean, okay, maybe yeah. So that's that, and that can be very frustrating because this process of understanding, right, how a change in one place of your code impacts and ruins a different dashboard of maybe of your CEO, is something that's one very important and two very hard. So that's another use case that we do. Yeah,
Yes, I understand. Like I heard one CTO say that it's especially startups move fast, so you don't have really, I mean, the time to explain, the data, everything when, especially when you onboard another member, right? So it's really useful. So, do you have?
exactly.
Yes, talk to us.
I
Talk to us about your technology.
mean, so what we have that's pretty unique is we have a very strong parser engine. Um, right, so we take in all the metadata that an organization has, and we parse that metadata. So we take out, let's say, SQLs, right? The select star from table. Um, and we wrote an engine that understands that SQL and understands how the different mappings inside that SQL happen. How right a source goes to a target. So this table that Pipeline builds is actually built from three different tables, and inside it's actually these five columns, and these columns, right, are dependent on each other because we might have done a sum function on right on two different columns. So to do some average, I don't know, and that's something that it's very unique in our space because we built it specifically for the modern data stack, which is all of the new cool technologies that been involved in the past 10 years. So talking about like tools like Snowflake and BigQuery and Redshift, and right and Airflow and whatever, and DBT, all great tools, and we're able to parse that metadata in a very high precision way.
Hmm. Wow. So right now, how many clients do you serve?
So we have um, anywhere, but I mean, I'll just keep it at like 10, between 10 to 15 customers, a few more design partners that we work very closely with. And we're working on getting more. So hopefully,
Yeah.
the more the merrier.
The
Yeah.
more I love that. The more the merrier. And how many people are there in the team?
So um, we have 15-ish full time employees and another and more freelancers that work with Agua. The team is located. I mean, Ariel, the CEO, is located in New Jersey. We're located. Most of the team is located in Tel Aviv, in Israel, and some of the team right now is in India. I mean, We have right, we have IAM ops, and we have another employee.
Wow. So it's also everywhere, distributed. I think that's the future of work. That's how it.
Exactly.
Any challenges? I mean, what are the that you can recall? Okay, I know there are a lot of founders tell me there are challenges every day, Mariah. But so 1 year and 8 months, right? Aggua is like
Yeah.
1 year and 8 months. What stays in your mind? Like, okay, this is a great challenge for Agua.
I mean, like just like you said like a second ago. I mean, what challenges are currently at this minute? I mean, I'm obviously joking, but there are a lot of challenges. What comes? I can say that right now. I mean, recruiting is a challenge, right? Recruiting the right people is a big and important one. Probably the most important challenge a startup is going to have. Because once you bring in the right people, then everything just sort of fixes itself, and that's why it's so important. Right, the market. I mean, the ups and downs is a challenge, right? We spoke about it, I think, last time. There are ups and downs, right, in every entrepreneurship, journey. And I think, I mean, the journey that the first time entrepreneurs, I think, of the 20, right, of the 2021, 2022, maybe, challenge it, right? Entrepreneurs, we had very high highs, and now we have very low lows, right? I mean, it was very easy to
Like a roller
at
coaster.
some point. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it is a very high roller coaster, and the market is not an easy one today. So everyone is affected, and first time entrepreneurs really have that, right, that that same doubt that we spoke about.
At the beginning. Okay, so what
Yeah.
are some three special tips from Avi? So for a first time entrepreneur, how do you navigate, especially when there's like a downturn?
I mean, right. So you do you do the most that you can, right? And once
Do
you
the
do,
most that you can.
right. That's personally like what I do. I mean, I think once you do the most that you can, I think if you did the maximum and something didn't work, I mean, okay, so you learned something out of it. But that's how I sleep good at night. I think the second thing is it's a marathon, right? Everyone knows it's a marathon. It's hard to remember that during the race that it is a marathon and not a sprint. But eventually, I think every entrepreneur, right, and every person, right, just learns. I mean, to relax when they need to relax and to gain back what they need to bring back to the right, so they can continue the race, right. I don't have a third one. I think we'll keep it with two.
Two sweet two things from Avi. But yeah, I can really understand what you said. Like it's hard to take it easy when it's I mean the hustle. I mean every day you should move fast. Like what are the results or especially when the market is like this, right? Like volatile, unpredictable. Okay, so where are you now in your journey? And what is the road ahead for Agua?
Product wise, we've been working on building a lot of new tools because we're a data management platform. So this is the offering that we come in with. It's also something that we pride. We've built a very strong data cost management because it just made sense because of the situation in the market. I mean, there's a lot of waste going on in data teams, especially in the past few years. Where builds, right, for data warehouses, data lakes really rised, really just is just I mean out of proportion. And what our tool does is understands where costs can be reduced in a smart way because we understand how the data moves from a place and who uses it, right? So if you're not using something, maybe it's time to let go of it, right? And if you're using something and maybe you're doing it wrong, maybe you're just not it's not optimized. So let's fix that. And we've seen reduce opportunities reduces of up to 30% in your data warehouse cost. So that can add up to tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. So that's something that we're very proud about, and we're working right now on improving it and making it the best data cost management tool out there. I mean, as a journey, as a company, as an entrepreneur, we're trying to do our best and get more customers. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you expanding? Are you also going to the US or?
We're expanding. I mean, we have a real in the U.S. Right now, we're looking for, I mean, more developers, and we just brought in a few more sales and marketing personnel to the team. Yeah. What Aggua was trying to do is build a data management platform that is easy to use, built for companies that are scaling. Okay, not the and high enterprise, which already are at scale. But we're here to help companies focus data groups focus on how to scale, and that's a hard thing. So right now we have a few solutions in place. We're building more. We have a data quality solution in beta. We're not trying to be everything, so we're not gonna we don't want to do everything, but we want to do just enough in the right places for our customers, right? For the customers that don't know exactly what to tackle first. They might be. I mean, it's hard to understand if you want to fix your quality of the data first, or you want to fix the documentation, or maybe your costs are too high, or maybe you need an observability tool just to make sure that nobody has to stay awake at night. And that's what we're striving to do. So we want to help, right, those heads of data, those data engineers, or those data analysts, strive forward and help, right? And we're doing it for teams that want to help the business. We're not doing it for. I mean, we're not doing it for. There are teams that really are into technology, and that's okay. That's one way to handle things. We're here to help teams that want to give the business teams the value that they can get from the data. So that's another core value that we're working on, and hopefully in the future, right, once the vision is all together, we can execute it.
Yeah. So, to those who want clarity and into their data, and to those who want to save time, what did you say? Like from 2 months to how much time?
A week, a
A
week of
week. Okay.
yeah,
Eliminate all the
yeah.
friction. How can they connect with you guys?
So they can go into our website and leave details. That would be great,
Maybe you can mention the
right?
website.
So yeah, our website is Aggua, and I think Declan has a lot of input on the website. It's AWGUA.io. Agua is right. It's water in Spanish. The double G there is a bit of a maybe a homage to Bring, the previous company that I worked at, and a lot of the employees also came from there.
Oh, thank you for explaining the genesis of the name, Agua.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we end this, if you're gonna speak to a fellow CTO or an entrepreneur or a startup founder, what would be your question? Is there anything you have in mind?
I mean, it's always interesting to hear what technologies people are using, right? And how they're managing. I think, okay, an interesting question is how people are handling right now the back to office movement, right? We had a work from home um, kind of evangelical right period where everyone was like, "This is the future. We don't need an office," and that's something that, I mean, I guess is only partially true. And to hear from CDOs how to handle that, and how are they handling it, and what do they believe is a very interesting topic.
Okay, wow, we're gonna ask the next one to hop on the podcast that question. Thank you very much, Avi. This podcast is powered by IAMOps.io. Optimize your cloud infrastructure and CI/CD process with IAMOps.io dedicated DevOps team. Check out www.iamops.io and get a DevOps team now. Make sure to check out www.iamops.io if you want to know more about us. Subscribe to our podcast so you can get notified every time we post a new video. Thank you, and you have a great day.